Part 46. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 451. So just when Zhang Shainan turned around and ran less than 10 feet away, the fire caused by the rocket instantly ignited all the surrounding trees, forming a huge fire ring and surrounding them in a sea of a euro fire. Moreover, the ambush circle was located downwind. After the surrounding dead branches and leaves burned, they quickly spread along with the wind to the entire forest where Zhang Shainan's troops were located. The extremely high temperature flame approached the skin and instantly burned the soldiers' armor red and hot. The armor originally worn to protect themselves has now turned into a life-threatening weapon. The scalding armor instantly attached itself to the body with extremely high temperature. For a moment, screams broke out in the woods, and Zhang Shainan and his soldiers became chaotic in the sea of a euro fire. Crying, cursing, and wailing, the soldiers ran wildly in order to avoid the flames and reduce the burning on their bodies. Countless people were trampled to death and burned to death. The Dragon Kingdom's army, because of Guojia's command and reminder, stopped advancing as soon as possible and had all withdrawn from the woods before the fire spread. Around the woods, in order to prevent troops from the Dragon Kingdom or Zhang Shainan from rushing out of the sea of a euro fire, Wang Rong arranged a large number of soldiers to ambush again. Therefore, as soon as the Dragon Kingdom's army walked out of the woods, they met the ambush troops from the Chu Kingdom. Those ambush soldiers were originally ambushing here, and they only needed to clean up the fish that escaped from the fire sea by chance. Moreover, after being burned by the fire, even if they could break out, they would definitely lose their combat effectiveness, so they did not make too many preparations. However, at this time, what they encountered was the unscathed Dragon Kingdom army. Even if they were not direct troops, under the leadership of Huang Zhong and the cover of the Longbowmen, they were likely to die. At the same time, Ma Chao had led an army of 20,000 to Yizhang city. Since Lin Shihong did not expect Guo to use his ambush plan, he killed Guojia and the Dragon Kingdom army in one fell swoop. He handed over almost all the remaining troops under his command, allowing him to wipe out the Dragon Kingdom army in an incomparable manner. Therefore, at this time, the defense force of Yizhang County City was very weak, and the city was extremely empty. The total number of soldiers defending the city was less than 2,000. How can such a small number of troops be able to stop Ma Chao, a peerless general and an army of 20,000? After Ma Chao saw the usefulness of Long Wu's flying hook, he pestered Dian Wei to borrow his flying hook and found the best blacksmith in Yangzhou to make an identical one. At this time, it was also the first time for him to use this object. Recalling the use of the long martial soldier at that time, he also took the iron chain and rolled the iron hook in his hand twice, and then threw it hard against the city wall, hooking the iron hook on top of the city wall. Then he also grabbed the iron chain with his hands and stepped on the city wall to climb up quickly. The defenders on the Yizhang city wall saw this and hurriedly brought bows and arrows to shoot, but Ma Chao's armor was the same as that of the Dragon City cavalry, so the bows and arrows could not hurt him. And with his skill, the city wall, which was more than 10 feet high, rushed up in just a few breaths. Ma Chao, who came to the city wall, rushed like a tiger into a flock of sheep. The defenders were less than 2,000 people, and they were scattered all over the city wall, unable to stop Ma Chao's attack. A quarter of an hour later, Ma Chao killed most of the defenders on the city wall, opened the city gate, led the army into the city, and led them towards the city lord's palace. Feeler reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 452. Since Wang Rong brought almost all his troops to the woods outside the city to ambush the Dragon Kingdom army, Yizhang city was very empty at this time. After Ma Chao killed most of the defenders on the city wall, there was almost no resistance in the entire city, so he led 20,000 soldiers and horses to the Chu palace without resistance. Because the troops in Yuzhang city were very limited, and everyone was resisting Ma Chao and his army, no one rushed to the palace to report the news, so at this time Lin Shihong did not know that his hometown had been invaded. When Ma Chao arrived at the palace, Lin Shihong and his ministers were still in the palace, looking forward to Wang Rong's return with a great victory, and waiting for him to return with prisoners or heads such as Guojia and Huang Zhong to celebrate his victory. Everyone was chatting happily when they suddenly heard shouts of killing outside the palace. Lin Shihong was shocked. At this time, the few generals of the Chu kingdom had been taken away by Wang Rong and ambushed, so all the courtiers in the palace were its a civil servant. When they heard the sudden cry of killing, they were all trembling with fear. Only Lin Shihong was calm because he had been in battle for a long time before, and he quickly asked people to go outside the palace to see what happened. However, the man who was sent there was also a timid man. He walked to the palace gate tremblingly and was about to push the door open when someone kicked the palace door open, hitting him and knocking him back. The man was knocked to the ground, and before he could get up, he was stepped on by someone who followed him, and then stabbed into the chest with a bullet, ending his life. All the officials in the palace had never seen such a ferocious person. When they saw the incoming person, they immediately panicked, screamed, and hid in all directions. Only Lin Shihong drew his sword and looked at the person who came in, showing some signs of dividing the territory. Brave. Lin Shihong originally thought that Wang Rong was returning victoriously with his army. Because he had military power, he had the intention of rebelling. However, when he saw that the leader of the people who rushed into the palace was a boy of 14 or 15 years old, he was suddenly surprised. However, he was not frightened, but asked in a deep voice who is coming, and why do you want to enter my palace and become my enemy? I saw the person at the front among the people who came, wearing golden armor and white robes. The young man holding a golden spear showed a proud look on his face, and then he said, I am the general of the left, Ma Chao and Ma Menqi, under the command of the Dragon Emperor of the Shenlong Empire. Today, I came to attack Yuzhang County on the orders of the military advisor Guoqia. You must have it's the king of Chu, Lin Shihong. See if you still have some courage. If you surrender and become a vassal, I won't kill you today. Originally, Ma Chao saw that the defense of Yuzhang County, Lin Shihong's capital, was so loose, so he thought that Lin Shihong must be the weak and incompetent. Han Jun thought of rushing into the palace and killing him, so that he could control Yuzhang. But at this time, I saw that Lin Shihong was not a coward without courage. When his army rushed into the palace and all the officials were hiding in panic, he, the emperor, took out his sword and tried to resist without fear. Not to mention whether his resistance could pose a threat to Ma Chao and the Dragon Kingdom army behind him, but at least his courage is worthy of recognition. He also won the respect of Ma Chao and said that he would spare his life as long as he surrendered. However, when Lin Shihong heard Ma Chao's name, he was shocked and asked, Are you Ma Chao? To read the underlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 453. Guojia led his army to attack our country of Chu. Isn't a Euro trademark T there only one general named Huang Zhong? How come you are here? Guojia should not have been ambushed at this time and was being strangled and burned alive by Wang Rong's army in the woods outside the city. Why would he send you to sneak attack? How did you break out of the sea of a Euro fire? Where is Wang Rong's army? Lin Shihong really didn't expect that the young military general in front of him who fell from the sky and attacked Yuzhang County and killed him was the famous Ma Chao. He was full of doubts and asked 4 or 5 questions in a row. However, Ma Chao obviously didn't have the patience to answer him one by one. And as soon as he mentioned the ambush outside the city, a ball of anger arose in Ma Chao's heart. So he also put away his polite behavior just now, and said hatefully, "You think your simple fire attack strategy will be enough? Can you deceive my military advisor? To tell you the truth, my military advisor has long guessed that you must be cheating by sending Zhang Shainan to surrender, and choosing to launch a surprise attack in Yuzhang at noon is even more problematic at first glance. Therefore, when Zhang Shainan revealed his plan for today's sneak attack, my military advisor guessed your plan and ordered me to bypass your ambush and directly attack Yuzhang. At this time, I'm afraid they have strangled the ambush you left outside the woods. Okay, I have explained your doubts to you. Since you didn't a Euro trademark T choose to surrender just now, you don't a Euro trademark T have to choose. I will send you to hell and let you join your ambush soldiers below." After Ma Chao finished speaking, he gave an order, and the soldiers rushed into the palace and attacked Lin Shihong first. Lin Shihong had heard of Ma Chao's reputation a long time ago and knew that he was strong. He might not be his opponent, but he was already surrounded at this time. There was no way to escape, and it was already a certain death situation. In this case, instead of dodging and running around, and then being caught and killed, it is better to be tougher and resist directly with the sword. Even if he is killed, he will still die standing. He thought this way. For many years as an anti-Wang Yang, he rushed forward with his sword in hand. Ma Chao did not expect that the opponent would not dodge even though he knew he would die. He still fought hard. He also had a little more admiration for Lin Shihong, but the gun in his hand did not slow down even half a minute because of this. After all, the best way to respect your opponent is to use all your strength to kill him. However, the difference in strength between the two sides is indeed huge. When the two faced each other, Ma Chao inserted the tiger head Zhan golden spear with just one move. Lin Shihong's chest. With Lin Shihong's death, all the officials of Chu state gave up resistance and knelt down to surrender. Ma Chao also followed the teachings of Guojia and Huang Zhong and did not kill these people. Instead, he sent hundreds of people, tied them up and left them to guard. He led his troops out of the city to support Guojia and Huang Zhong. At this time, the Yuzhang army ambushing outside the woods was completely unable to withstand the Dragon Kingdom army led by Huang Zhong. They had no choice but to retreat to Yuzhang city. However, as soon as they retreated outside the city, Ma Chao led 20,000 soldiers to fight out of the city. Wang Rong saw the dress of the troops rushing out of the city and the people under Huang Zhong's command. Similarly, he knew that Yuzhang had been lost. So he prepared to lead his army to break out to the south. However, Huang Zhong saw his intention, immediately drew his bow and arrow, and hit Wang Rong between the eyebrows with an arrow. Wang Rong died, and the Yuzhang army had no leader. Immediately scattered and fled. Fei Lu reminds you, 3 things about reading collecting, recommending. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 454. With the fall of Yuzhou city and the death of Chu King Lin Shihong in the battle, the defenders of the other cities in the Chu kingdom no longer resisted, either surrendered to Xiaoxian in Zhongling, or directly surrendered to the Dragon Kingdom. The Chu state that Lin Shihong worked so hard to build only lasted for a few months before it collapsed and ceased to exist. However, Lin Shihong died in a head-to-head confrontation with Ma Chao anyway, and won Ma Chao's respect. Ma Chao specially buried him with a thick burial afterwards. But Zhang Shainan was not so lucky. He thought that he had both sides of the Dragon Kingdom and the Chu Kingdom. He could use this opportunity to wipe out all the armies of Lin Shihong and Guoqia, and then occupy the territory of the Chu Kingdom and become king. In the end, he didn't expect that instead of eliminating Lin Shihong and Guoqia, he was joined by the 2 of them and sold them, and was eventually burned alive in the woods. Due to Lin Shihong's death and the disintegration of the Chu state, the previously conquered cities such as Zhejiang, and the strength of Lin Shihong's subordinates who took refuge after Lin Shihong's death, the Dragon State had occupied most of the territory of the Chu State. Therefore, Guojia did not rush forward and continue to attack Xiaoxian. Instead, he rested and reorganized his army in Yuzhang City and consolidated the defense of the city he had already obtained. After all, these places had just been acquired. Although the defenders of these cities surrendered to the Dragon Kingdom, not everyone at all levels of officials and soldiers in the city was willing to serve the Dragon Kingdom. When the center's people are unstable, if the attack continues, these places are likely to become entry points for the enemy. All it takes is to hook the reactionaries, which will cause chaos in the rear of Guo's army and distract Guoxia, affecting the war. However, as a super counselor, Guoxia, who also assisted Lu Feng Juajuo, was well aware of these handling issues, so he was not worried. Guoxia is consolidating his own strength, and Xiao Xiaoxian is also accumulating his own strength. He knows that he occupies Jiangling and is close to the Dragon Kingdom. If the Dragon Kingdom wants to unify Jiangnan, it must start a war on its own, especially with the death of Lin Shihong. There is no buffer between him and the Dragon Kingdom, and this war is inevitable. This Xiao Mian is different from Lin Shihong and other forces. He is not a rebel, but a descendant of a famous family. His great-grandfather was Xiao Qi, Emperor Xian of the Western Liang dynasty. His grandfather was Xiao Yan, the loyal king of Anping, and his father was Xiao Xian, the king of Anping Wengxian. He was also a descendant of the royal family and had a prominent status. Nowadays, princes from all over the world have become kings one after another, and he has also risen up, once again raised the banner of the Liang kingdom established by his great-grandfather, and called himself King Xiao Liang. Xiao Mian established his capital in Jiangling, and the country was named Liang. The reign name was Fengming. After many years of management, and with the countless followers of the Western Liang kingdom in the northern and southern dynasties, the military strength reached 400,000, and his strength was far more powerful than Lin Shihong. It was precisely because of the strength of the enemy that Guo Jiake adopted a strategy that focused on stability, consolidating his own strength first. Not only did Huang Zhong agree with this, but even Ma Chao did not clamor to attack. While Guojia was consolidating the territory acquired from the Chu state, Xiao Xianyi was not idle, and had been expanding his strength. He also took advantage of the battle between Guojia and Lin Shihong to lead his army northward and defeated the ogre king Zhu Kan. After Zhu Kan was defeated, Xiao Mian knew that his adopted son Zhu Wuodeng was a powerful super general, so he wanted to take him under his command. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 455. At this time, Zhu Kan had been defeated, and Zhu Wuodeng had nowhere to go, so he agreed to Xiao Xian's invitation and joined his command. This Zhu Wuodeng is not only Zhu Kan's adopted son, but his biological father is Wu Yunzhao, the 5th hero in the world. Although Zhu Wuodeng's martial arts is far inferior to Wu Yunzhao, as a super military general, he is enough to stand alone. Moreover, although Xiao Mian has 400,000 elite soldiers under his command, none of them is Zhu Wuodeng's opponent. It is precisely because of this that Xiao Mian attaches great importance to Zhu Wuodeng. After all, he also knew that although the military strength of the Dragon Kingdom could not compare with his own, the generals of the Dragon Kingdom had extremely powerful force. If he did not have generals who could stand alone, he might not be able to win. As for Zhu Wuodeng, the reason why he was willing to seek refuge with Xiao Mian, the king of Xiaoliang, was because he took a fancy to the 400,000 elite soldiers under Xiao Mian. After all, his father Wu Yunzhao died in the hands of Dragon Emperor Lu Feng. If he wanted to take revenge, he had to rely on the powerful princes, and Xiao Xian obviously met this condition. Therefore, the only condition for him to seek refuge with Xiao Mian was to allow Xiao Mian to send troops to attack the Dragon Kingdom and avenge his father. Although Xiao Xian knew that the Dragon Kingdom was powerful and even Emperor Sui Yang, who owned Yuan Chengdu, was no match for the Dragon Kingdom, it would be as difficult as climbing to the sky for him to defeat the Dragon Kingdom. But after all, the Dragon Kingdom is at your side, especially since Lin Shihong has been eliminated by the army led by the Dragon Kingdom's military advisor Guoqia. The ambitions of the Dragon Kingdom and Jiangnan are known to everyone. Therefore, even if Xiao Mian does not attack the Dragon Kingdom, he will definitely send troops to attack him. Instead of waiting for the Dragon Kingdom's army to arrive at Zhongling and be beaten passively, it is better to agree to Zhu Wudeng to attack the Dragon Kingdom and take the initiative. And with Zhu Wudeng joining, the country will be more relaxed. For Xiao Xian and Zhu Wudeng, this is a win-win decision. Both of them have their own purposes and learn from each other's strengths rather than taking advantage of each other. With the addition of Zhu Wudeng, the remaining troops of the human demon king Zhu Kan were much more relaxed. After all Zhu Kan's forces surrendered to Xiao Xian, he joined forces with Nanning Changzhen and others to launch an attack on Yuzhang. Facing the invasion of Xiao Mian's army, Guoqia seemed very calm. If Guoqia had just led his army to capture Yuzhang, and Xiao Mian led his army to invade, it would definitely bring him a lot of trouble. After all, Xiao Mian had a total of 400,000 elite soldiers, while Guoqia only had 50,000, and except for 3,000 longbowmen, they were all surrendered troops of the Sui dynasty, and their combat effectiveness was not strong. However, during the period when Xiao Xian attacked and incorporated Zhu Kan's remaining troops, Guoqia, with the assistance of Ma Chao and Huang Zhong, had completely stabilized the situation in Yuzhang. In addition, Ma Chao and Huang Zhong also selected an army of 50,000 from the Chu State's surrendered army, and together with the 50,000 people they originally brought for assault training, the 100,000 army now has a certain combat effectiveness. Although the 100,000 troops were still at a disadvantage compared to Xiao Mian's 400,000 troops, with Guoqia's strategic planning and the leadership of Huang Zhong and Ma Chao, the fourfold troop strength gap could be easily made up. Just as the Dragon Kingdom army was gradually encroaching on the territory of Xiao Xian, the king of Xiaoliang, under the command of Guoqia, Li Yuan stayed in Taiyuan in the north and ascended the throne and proclaimed himself emperor at the suggestion of his soldiers. Filu reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 456. During the Sui dynasty and Tang dynasty, Li Yuan, the Duke of Tang dynasty, proclaimed himself emperor in Taiyuan. The founding name was Tang, Jianyuan Wuyud, and the capital was tentatively named Taiyuan. After Li Yuan proclaimed himself emperor, he immediately began to expand and conquer the world. Among them, Prince Li Jiancheng led an army to the north to attack Gao Kaidao, Lu Wuzhu, Guozai and other princes. King Li Shimen of Qin and Princess Li Ziyuning of Pingyang led an army to conquer Liang Shidu, Li Gui, Xueju, and other princes in the west. King Li Yuanji and Li Yuanba of Qi led an army to conquer princes such as Dou Jiande, Su Yuanlang, and Wangbo in the east. Only at this time did the princes of the world discover that Tang Qiagong Li Yuan, who had been silently staying in Taiyuan, had secretly recruited so many soldiers and horses and developed such a powerful force. What surprised the princes even more was that the generals of other anti-king princes came from elsewhere to join him, and the commanders of the 3 armies under Li Yuan were all his sons. If someone else appoints all their sons as commander-in-chief, they themselves are not strong enough and do not have such strong ability to command troops. Even if they have capable and outstanding generals, it will be difficult for them to achieve success, and they may even be defeated by other princes. But Li Yuan's sons are different. Whether it is Li Jiancheng, Li Shimen, or Li Yuanji, they all have extremely strong commanding power. No matter how powerful the generals are under their command, they will be convinced and will not have second thoughts. As for his younger son Li Yuanba, he has already become famous all over the world. The name of the monster boy makes people who participated in the battle of the 16th Root Rebel King Siege Wei County still have nightmares now when they think about it. Moreover, Li Yuan not only had 4 sons, but his daughters were also women and men. The women's army under his command was extremely powerful in combat. Very few armies of princes in the world were able to get an advantage. Within half a month, various princes were attacked by Li Tang's army, especially the troops of Dou Jiande and other princes in the east, but they were defeated by Li Yuanji and Li Yuanba. Whenever the two armies fought, Li Yuanba was always the first to rush to the battlefield on Wanlian, carrying a pair of drums, urns, and golden hammers. As soon as he stood on the battlefield, almost no one in the enemy army dared to challenge him. Several times Dou Jiande saw Li Yuanba showing off his power in the middle of the battlefield, but his generals did not dare to step forward. He was so angry that he ordered the entire army to attack. When Li Yuanji saw Dou Jiande's tens of thousands of troops rushing toward Li Yuanba, he originally wanted to send troops to rescue him at the same time, but Li Yuanba's performance immediately made him sit on his horse with peace of mind and wait for victory. Li Yuanba was seen carrying a pair of war hammers and charging into Dou Jiande's tens of thousands of troops alone. Every time the 400-pound sledgehammer was swung, more than a dozen people would be knocked away. Wherever Li Yuanba rushed, Dou Jiande's army surrounding him would have a large clearing. In addition to the soldiers who were smashed away, it was more because they were afraid of Li Yuanba's force and did not dare to step forward. After all, Dou Jiande also sent troops to participate in the siege of Wei County by the 16th Root Army against the king that day. The scene where Li Yuanba killed 2 million anti-king coalition forces with 2 hammers on the battlefield and abandoned their armor is still vivid in his mind. With such an experience, almost no one dared to rush forward and die. Even those who had not experienced the battle of the 16th Root anti-king besieging Wei County would not dare to see the scene where Li Yuanba smashed a group of people to death with a hammer. Stepped forward to fight. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 457. In desperation, Dou Jiande was so angry that he beheaded 4 or 5 soldiers who were retreating. Only then did they muster the courage to continue rushing over and attack Li Yuanba. Li Yuanba seemed to feel that it was too easy to kill a group of people at once, so he changed his fighting method and started to hit only one person with one hammer, but everyone was hit in the head with one hammer. He even got excited and began to hit the heads of Dou Jiande's soldiers with 2 hammers. Each blow of the 400-pound sledgehammer would flatten a person's head, and the broken bones, blood and brains immediately flew everywhere. No normal person would have the chance to see such a bloody and terrifying scene. They looked at Li Yuanba as if they were looking at a demon coming out of the underworld. No matter how hard Dou Jiande killed the deserters, he could not stop the soldiers from fleeing. Not only Dou Jiande's soldiers were frightened by Li Yuanba and fled in all directions, but even Li Yuanji felt nauseated. Although Li Tang's soldiers were not frightened and ran away, many of them could not bear the turbulence in their stomachs and eventually vomited. Dou Jiande saw that the soldiers had been completely frightened by Li Yuanba and did not dare to fight anymore, so he had no choice but to withdraw his troops. However, Li Yuanba has never had the chance to fight on the battlefield since his last happy killing of the enemy on the Wuming Mountain outside Wei County. Now that he had the opportunity, he would not let Dou Jiande go, so he began to pursue him fiercely. This situation lasted almost throughout the battle between Li Yuanji's army and Dou Jiande. In the end, Li Yuanji only used Li Yuanba as the vanguard, and he was unstoppable all the way, beating Dou Jiande's army back steadily. In the end, Li Yuanji did not waste a single soldier, and with Li Yuanba's outstanding performance, he captured all of Dou Jiande's territory at a terrifying speed. After wiping out Do Jiandai's army, Li Yuanji led his troops and wiped out the two princes Wang Buk and Su Yuanlang with extremely strong momentum. At the same time, Li Yuan also led a personal expedition and began to lead his army to attack the Degzu kingdom of Yuanhuaji under the banner of revenge for Emperor Yang of Sui dynasty. Li Yuan sent troops in the name of revenge for Emperor Sui Yang and occupied Dai. However, Yuanhuaji became the emperor of Degzu through regicide, which was not justified in itself. Moreover, Yuanhua and his men did not have a capable leader, so they were no match for Li Yuan. After only holding on for 3 days, they had to flee south with the army in preparation for a surprise attack on Weigong. At this time, Weigong village was no longer as brave as it used to be. After Li Mi became the king of Wei, he became more arrogant and domineering, and began to suppress the 36 friends of Weigong, including Su Mogong, Wei Zheng, Shan Xiangxin, etc. In the end, Wei Zheng and others saw that Weigong village, which they had created with their own hands, had long lost its former righteousness first appearance under Li Mi's rule. They were disappointed with Li Mi and chose to leave Weigong village. Among the people who left, some sought refuge with the prosperous Li Tang, some went south to seek refuge with the flourishing Dragon Kingdom, and some went to Luoyang to seek refuge with Wang Shishang. In the end, in Weigong village, which was in its heyday, only Wang Bodang, the white-robed divine arrow, was left among the veterans who founded the village. Because he was grateful to Li Mi for saving his life and giving him a stage for development, he chose to stay in Weigong village. Next to Li Mi. Although Yuanhuaji was defeated by Li Yuan, he held the 300,000 troops of Emperor Yang of the Sui dynasty, which did not damage the foundation. In addition, he teamed up with Wang Shishang to attack Weigong. Wang Bodang alone was ultimately unable to support him. In the end, Li Mi was defeated and had to take Wang Bodang to join Li Yuan. Feeler reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 458. Li Mi was defeated by the coalition forces of Yuanhuaji and Wang Shishang. After fleeing Weigong village and defecting to Li Yuan, Yuanhuaji, who had no place to stay, occupied Magpie Nest, occupied Weigong village, and joined forces with Wang Shishang to resist Li Yuan. In the first few days, because Li Yuan did not have particularly powerful generals, the two of them jointly caused some trouble for Li Yuan. But the good times did not last long. Li Yuanji and Li Yuanba, who had eliminated Do Jiandai, also led their armies southward and joined Li Yuan to resist Wang Shishang and Yuanhuaji. With the joining of these two people, especially the joining of Li Yuanba, the situation on the battlefield was instantly reversed, and Li Tang's army had an absolute advantage. Li Yuanba once again showed his terrifying power, clashing left and right among the coalition forces of Yuanhuaji and Wang Shishang, as if he was in no one's land. Yuanhua had seen Li Yuanba's force early on, and knew that if it was a battlefield fight, the hundreds of thousands of troops under his and Wang Shishang's command would not be able to withstand Li Yuanba's impact, and their combat effectiveness would be greatly weakened. Therefore, Yuanhuaji finally had no choice but to abandon the newly acquired Weigong village and follow Wang Shishang to flee to Luoyang, hoping to use Luoyang's tall city walls to resist Li Yuanba's attack. So after throwing away tens of thousands of corpses, Yuanhuaji and Mingjin withdrew their troops. Seeing that Yuanhuaji and Wang Shishang temporarily retreated to Weigong-ji, Li Yuan called Li Yuanba back and prepared to fight again the next day. However, what he did not expect was that night, Wang Shishang and Yuanhuaji ordered the army to quietly leave Weigong village, and secretly retreated to Luoyang at full speed. Early the next morning, Li Yuanyi, who had not enjoyed playing at all the day before, came forward to call for battle with drums, urns, and golden hammers, but no one responded for a long time. Li Yuanji put up a pergola and looked into the Weigong village from a distance. He found that the entire village was very quiet, and there were no patrols and sentries. So Li Yuanji said to Li Yuan, "Father, something doesn't seem right in Weigong village." At this time, Li Yuan had also noticed the unusual silence in the village. He frowned and looked at it for a while, and then said to Li Yuanji, "Yuanji, you and Yuanba will go to the village with 100 guards to investigate." "I doubt it. Two old foxes, Yuan Huaji and Wang Shishang, have withdrawn their troops overnight, but we must be careful. If there is an ambush, we must fight out quickly and do not hesitate to fight." After hearing this, Li Yuanji took the order and left on the spot, and selected 100 soldiers from the army. A man with strong skills and quick reactions walked towards Weigong village with Li Yuanba. The closer they got to Weigong village, the more nervous Li Yuanji and others became. They were worried that the enemy would suddenly appear and shoot arrows at them. It would not be easy for them to avoid such a short distance. But compared to Li Yuanji and others who were cautious, Li Yuanba was not nervous at all and walked at the front with swagger. When Li Yuanji saw him, he was worried that he would be discovered by the enemy and used as an arrow target, so he hurriedly reminded him, "Yuanba, be careful. There may be someone in their camp waiting for you to approach and shoot arrows." However, Li Yuanba didn't care. He said, "Third brother, what are you afraid of? Their bows and arrows can't hurt Yuanba at all. Don't worry, if they shoot at you, Yuanba will definitely protect you." After listening to Li Yuanba's words, Li Yuanji, although in his heart it was helpless, but it also gave rise to a sense of warmth. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 459. As a result, no one was found until they entered the village. However, someone found a large number of footprints and carriage prints at the back door of the village, all extending to the west. So Li Yuanji returned to the formation and told Li Yuan the discovery. Li Yuan did not expect that Yuan Huaji and Wang Shishang did not even have the courage to fight and retreated overnight. He pondered for a moment, and then said, "Their hundreds of thousands of troops want to retreat overnight, and they must not have enough time, so the footprints must be real and not forged. Since they are retreating to the west, they must have returned in Luoyang, Wang Shishang's hometown. I guess they must have thought that they could not defeat Yuanba in positional warfare, so they wanted to use the high height of Luoyang city and the deep river to resist Yuanba. In this case, we cannot let them just escape back and ignore it. Immediately break up the camp and march to Luoyang." As soon as Li Yuan finished speaking, his army showed extremely high quality. Soldiers at all levels immediately conveyed Li Yuan's order, and soon the army was ready to go. After 3 days of rapid march, Li Tang's army arrived outside Luoyang city. Sure enough, just as Li Yuan had judged, Yuan Huaji and Wang Shishang had already joined forces and were waiting on the Luoyang city wall, waiting for Li Yuan's arrival. If the two armies fought in the past, even if it was a siege battle, when the strength of the two sides was similar, the defending side would be led by a general in the army to form a formation under the city, and the generals would fight first or fight in the formation. But because there was a monster like Li Yuanba in Li Tang's army, neither Wang Shishang nor Yuan Huaji lined up their troops in formation. However, they did not leave the city, but Li Yuanba angrily stepped forward to call for battle, wanting to have a good fight with the opponent first. However, Wang Shishang and Yuan Huaji, who had been holding on to the city for a long time, ignored him and directly ordered the archers to aim at Li Yuanba and shoot at once. Li Yuanba was shouting excitedly when suddenly a rain of arrows fell from the sky like locusts. He quickly picked up his war hammer and danced around him like an airtight weapon. After the bows and arrows on the city wall stopped, although none of them hurt Li Yuanba, they made him furious. He immediately slapped Wan Liun on his crotch and rushed out. Yuan Huaji and Wang Shishang, who were directing the battle on the city wall, saw this and quickly ordered people to prepare defenses. As the capital of the Sui dynasty, Luoyang not only had tall walls and deep moats, but was also extremely rich in defensive materials, including various kinds of wood and rolling stones. That's why they wanted to use the advantage of defending the city to eliminate Li Yuanba when he attacked the city. Whether he was swimming across the moat or climbing up the city wall, it was difficult for him to defend himself. Hundreds of thousands of defenders had hundreds of thousands of sticks, rolling stones, hot oil, and bows and arrows pointed at him, and they would surely be able to kill him. Kill. However, what Yuan Huaji and Wang Shishang did not expect was that Li Yuanba did not swim across the moat. I saw his Wan Liyun leaping by the river, and the moat several feet wide was actually jumped across. But that's not all. What shocked them even more was that Li Yuanba didn't want to climb up the city wall at all. Instead, he waved the drum, urn, and golden hammer in his hand and slammed down on the generous city gate. In the shocked eyes of Yuan Huaji and Wang Shishang, the seemingly indestructible city gate turned out to be like paper and was smashed into ruins by Li Yuanba's hammers. Filu reminds you, 3 things about reading, collecting and recommending. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 460. Looking at the Luoyang city gate that had been smashed by Li Yuanba, Yuan Huaji and Wang Shishang could not believe that someone could smash the heavy and tall city gate with just the weapons in their hands. Open. The reason why they abandoned Weigongji and fled to Luoyang for defense was because Li Yuanba was too brave and their hundreds of thousands of troops alone could not defeat him. That's why they thought of using Luoyang's tall city walls to stop Li Yuanba, but they didn't expect that the city walls and gates that had made countless armies who had attacked Luoyang despair could not stop Li Yuanba's sledgehammer. Thinking about the armies that came to attack Luoyang from ancient times to the present, even if they deployed siege engines and battering rams, they could not easily break open the city gates. Who would have thought that Li Yuanba would be more effective than a battering ram? However, even though Li Yuanba's performance was too incredible, neither Yuan Huaji nor Wang Shishang had time to think or be shocked. Because with the city gates wide open, not only Li Yuanba, but also the hundreds of thousands of troops in Li Yuan's hands have begun to march towards the city. If they don't have any response measures, they will definitely not survive today. After only thinking for a few seconds, Yuan Huaji and Wang Shishang chose to escape together with a tacit understanding, abandoning Luoyang and escaping from another city gate. Luoyang, which Wang Shishang had worked so hard to capture, could no longer be held at this moment. This made him feel a sharp pain in his heart, but he had to choose to retreat. Because the monster Li Yuanba had already entered the city at the lead. Even if he tried to resist, no one could stop him. In the end, there was only death. Although once they escape from Luoyang, they will have nowhere to go and can only rely on others, but it is still better than being killed directly. But it was said that Li Yuanba had already entered the city and was playing with the soldiers Wang Shishang had left to resist him, but his way of playing was to hit the opponent's head with the war hammer in his hand. Since he entered the city, corpses have piled up at the city gate, and Li Yuan and Li Yuanji's army almost blocked the road and were unable to enter. Li Yuan led his army to the city and found that Yuan Huaji and Wang Shishang were not on the city wall. Knowing that they must have escaped in the opposite direction, he hurriedly ordered Li Yuanba to chase them. Li Yuanba was in the middle of fighting at this time, and he didn't want to chase Yuan Huaji, but when Li Yuan saw this, he immediately threatened him, if you don't obey today, you will never go to the battlefield again. After hearing this, Li Yuanba lost his temper. Hurriedly rode on Wan Liyun and chased towards the city gate in the west of Luoyang. Yuan Huaji and Wang Shishang had already fled in a hurry the moment Li Yuanba smashed open the city gate. After so long, coupled with the obstruction of their soldiers, they had escaped very far. Even when Li Yuanba saw them, they had already out of town. The two wanted to close the city gate after escaping from the city to make it more difficult for Li Tang's army to pursue them, but at this time they realized that the person who came was Li Yuanba. They knew that even closing the city gate could not stop Li Yuanba, so they escaped directly. However, despite all their calculations, the two of them still missed the speed of Li Yuanba's horse. They thought that because of Li Yuanba's own weight, plus his 800 kilograms of war hammer, even if he could hold it easily, the war horse would be very tired and unable to use its full strength. To read the ununderlined version of the novel, please download Fei Lu Xiao.